Because my fiancée slept with her ex, I slept with her worst enemies to get back at her. I'm 32 years old and work at a big US banking company. I'm doing well and have room to move up. I had a great time talking to the woman next to me at a meeting 6 years ago. The next few months were spent dating, and we've been together ever since. She turned 30 a few days ago, but because of how things turned out, there was no need to call her to wish her well. I asked her to marry me on her 29th birthday, and she said yes right away. That makes me smile because it was one of the best days of our lives. It got a lot worse. Now old like milk that has been left out to age. No matter what, she accepted my marriage proposal, and we were planning to get married. Fun times, right? Maybe I'm the only one, but women who are too shy to tell their friends about their sexual adventures might yap to you as a partner. In this relationship and the last two, I've had this. I guess most men don't want to know about all the guys their girlfriend, fiancé, or wife has slept with. When I have sex with a woman, I don't treat her special either. I told her I didn't want to hear her stories anymore after a few times of it, even though I knew a lot about her most recent ex. Hearing about ex-spouses getting together with someone new is fine, but please don't get physical. Chris was hard to get along with, but he was great in bed. We had slept together, which made me wonder if I was really that great in bed. Maybe fewer O's for me. Problems in the bedroom kept her in a bad spot. I had doubts, but she was younger and less smart than me. To ignore it, I did. This is important information for what I'm about to say. At first, I heard a lot about Chris, but after that, I didn't hear anything else. I thought she was over him by that point, which was fine with me. I didn't hear much about him after 2 years. Now we get to the part after the engagement. Sandy, my fiancée, and I were making plans. Both of us come from good families. People have told me I'm out of touch, so my point of view might not be accurate, even though I wouldn't say my childhood was wealthy. Both ways. The parents really wanted a big thing. It was fine with family and friends. There were no uncles or cousins I hadn't seen since I was a child, but Sandy and everyone else wanted it to go well. I let them win and gave up. Now the fun starts. Yes, this is where I messed up. But I'm trying to take a joke about it now. There were a lot of beautiful places we could choose from, like a private beach, a church that is 10,000 years old, City Hall, and so on. Luckily, I said I could find an event place in the city, but I was told I didn't have any vision. I wouldn't stress over things that don't matter. Sandy told me she was going to 3 places with a friend, which was fine with me. Anything you don't like, together with a friend. She looked for big, loud dresses and catered events. After the day, she told me that she and this friend went to a few places and liked an old church. She planned to see the same friend again in a few days to make sure she felt the same way. I told her it was fine because I no longer cared about the setting. In this case, I didn't see anything wrong. Finally, she and her friend went back to look at the place again and decided it was perfect for her. We had to pay a fee within 30 days to hold the day. Last, I set the scene. After that, for weeks, everything went well. We didn't spend a lot of money on wedding plans, but more things were completed. I was lucky that my wife left her phone on the kitchen island when she signed for the package. From where did I get the message? "Hey Chris, sweetheart." I wanted to read her notes, but she quickly came back with the gift she had bought. I wasn't sure if that was the same Chris calling her babe. In some ways, I think it would be worse. It has to be her ex. I knew how to handle my emotions because I know how men are. He might be an ex who is making requests or using sexual slurs and pet names. She might not agree with it. If she didn't know I knew, I could wait to read more. After 10 days, her friend picked her up, giving her that chance. Look at the flower designs. She forgot her phone, which was a good thing. She might come back with her phone, but I wouldn't miss the chance. I took it and looked for Chris on her chat app. They talked. They did talk a lot. There was talk about the wedding and other normal things. Besides wedding stuff, he said we should go back to the place because it was so beautiful. I see that he was with her. It just came back to me that she hadn't named me. As usual, she did. She went with Chris, her ex-boyfriend, who was so good in bed, but we hadn't talked in years. This made me want to read more, up until the good part. A lot of texting. Plenty. As clear as possible. There were some pictures, but mostly it was writing. I had to walk a long way to get there, but they were back at the old church around that time. After that, everything was fine except for pet names. I do not know if they slept together. Since they were still talking, she didn't feel bad about what they did. She always had the idiot's number handy. The door then became free. I thought about taking her phone away. I thought about acting like I wasn't doing anything, but what? I gave up on it. She was able to come in with her phone. As soon as we touched, her eyes grew big, and she almost ran towards me to ask, "What are you doing?" when she came to join me. When she saw Chris on the phone, I looked up at her from where I was sitting. It was hard for her to talk. She tried to make her lips move. "Did you look at my phone? Really? Do you mean it?" "Yes," I replied. She tried to make me look bad. I was mad at the comment, but I laughed it off. She moved away, which might have made me look crazy. "I have no idea at all. I had no idea," I told her. "When you signed for the package yesterday, your lover left a note. I checked your phone because of the message. Don't fight with me, I did this for a reason. There was no way I could have known you were cheating on me with Chris if things had gone your way." She began to mumble and explain that it wasn't what it seemed like. "I know you guys slept together," I bluffed hard, but I just had a gut feeling she denied it right away, but I stood my ground and told her. I told her, "Stop lying," and pushed her phone towards her. "I can't marry a liar," she broke down in tears and said. "Just once," I laughed again. "Just once you had sex with him. You're still in touch with him." "It was a mistake, baby, I made a mistake." She kept trying to touch me, but I kept swatting her away. That line made me laugh because it was only a mistake because I caught her. She would have kept going along with me and her ex-boyfriend. There was a chance she would have married me and kept sleeping with him. It was scary to think about how bad things could have gotten if I hadn't caught this. I had no idea, and I had completely trusted her before I saw the message on her phone. It makes me angry just thinking about it now. I got up, went to the bedroom, and grabbed her suitcase from the closet. She followed me and started crying again when she saw me putting her things in it, which made me even more angry. She kept begging me tea. It was crazy to think that I was planning a wedding with her. "Give me the ring back." The look on her face was like she had seen a ghost. I think that was the moment when she realized how badly she had messed up and what the real consequences of her actions were. My hand was outstretched in front of her for about 2 minutes before she finally took off the ring and put it in my hand. She didn't even fight it, which made me happy because I was getting impatient at that point. I threw some of her stuff into the suitcase and told her to leave, which she did quietly. That night, I locked the door. I turned off all the lights and got drunk. When I woke up the next morning, I had missed several calls, including some from her parents, my parents, and others. She must have told them that I had canceled the wedding, but I wondered if she had told them why. Almost certainly not, I thought at the time. I wasn't in the mood to talk to anyone because all they would do was feel sorry for me or tell me that Sandy and I could get along. I didn't want to have to deal with either of those things. During the day, people came knocking on my door several times, but I was quiet the whole time, and they left. The next day, I made a group chat and added both sets of parents, Sandy's siblings, and myself. I wrote a very long message, going over everything that happened in as much detail as I felt like at the time. It didn't matter if her parents or mine were there, they needed to know where I was coming from, if they were going to have any say in the matter of the soon-to-be-cancelled wedding. So yeah, I told them everything. It was tiring going over the whole thing, but I did it. The group chat was quiet for an hour. After that, even though I could see that some of them had read it, including my ex-fiancée, the first sign I got that someone had really understood was when my dad called me. I remember exactly what he said. "Son, I'm sorry. Someone told me you made the right choice. It will hurt, but it was the right choice that stuck with me because a weaker man might have gone back to throwing up when the pain got too much, but I never even thought about it." Whenever I thought of that line during the day, I got calls and messages. Some of them I answered, some I ignored. It was clear that everyone had gotten the message. News, and there was no point talking to me about it because my mind was set. That right there was pretty much the last time our wedding plans were so actively spoken about, and, to my knowledge, her parents never tried to plead with me because I assumed they had the sense to know their daughter had messed up immensely. But the thing is, that wasn't enough for me. It really wasn't. I really had to make Sandy hurt the same way I did, because calling off an engagement isn't real pain for her, it was merely the consequences of her actions. The first thing I wanted to do was get at Chris, but I really couldn't figure out how. I had no real JT on him. I did hope that Sandy would want nothing to do with him, seeing as he was the root of all the embarrassment and pain she had gone through. After all, her immediate family all knew she was an unfaithful hoe, and that was satisfying. It probably would have helped if I had come to ask for help here on how I could get back at Chris, but honestly, my mind wasn't in the right place at the time. I hope you can understand that. So I let him go despite not wanting to. However, the real person I needed to get back at was Sandy, and I had a plan. Here's the thing, we weren't. At this point, I could sleep with anyone, even her sister. Sorry, I wasn't planning to, I was just making a point. I wanted to make sure it hurt her a lot. I could either sleep with the people she loves the most or the people she hates the most. If our relationship had gone down the toilet, all of her best friends would have known, and they'd be tough for me to deal with. But the people she hates would be a different kind of evil. If you're reading this, think about it. How would you feel if your partner slept with the annoying guy at work that you hate? It would make you hate him even more, but it would also hurt a lot. I had to go. I tried to remember the names of some female Kia workers that my wife had complained about a lot. At the top of the list was Sophia, whom she hated because she thought she was all that, which was probably girl speak for feeling threatened by her. I was excited to find out if that meant she was hot. There was also Melissa, a college classmate. They used to be friends, but then Melissa slept with one of my ex-fiance's ex-exes, and they had a huge fight, and Sandy has hated her ever since. Finally, I could remember Toki, a Japanese girl. Sandy said, "I hate her because she acts so cute and men drool over her like fools." My list had a few more names, but I either couldn't do enough research to find them online or I failed to find them. Sophia was easy to find because she works at the same place as me, which made LinkedIn a huge help. From there, I was able to find her Instagram account and send her a message. I use Instagram a lot, and I'm not trying to be cocky, but it's a pretty appealing page for people who like slightly extravagant lifestyles. I had a lot of cool outfits, my Audi showed up a few times, and a few vacations I had taken also made appearances. When I followed Sophia, she followed me back within minutes, and I sent her a message. I used my usual slick talk, and it was clear she was into me. We talked for another day, and she said yes to a date. I made sure to take several photos of her and with her, and I made sure she looked great in every single one. The next person was Melissa. At this point, I knew I was doing a lot for revenge, but I was determined. Melissa lived 2 states away, but I still sent her a message on Instagram. The problem was, and I didn't plan for this, she recognized me. My wife and Melissa hadn't kept in touch, but Melissa must have occasionally checked on her life out of hate, because I showed up on my wife's social media. I was found out, so I chose the honest path. I told Melissa I had broken up with Sandy, and she said, "Good. I hated her." The next message said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I know you must still love her." I told Melissa I didn't, but I was looking for someone to share my hatred with. She started a voice call with me right after that message. We talked about my ex-fiancée, and I told Melissa I want to get back at her. Melissa, who was apparently a chronic homewrecker, said, "You could sleep with me." At this point, I could see why Sandy hated her back then, but it worked out in my favor. Setting up the date was very easy. I flew over on a weekend, and Melissa and I went bowling and sightseeing in her city, where I took lots of pictures for my sneaky purposes. We then went to her house and had a good time, and she even let me take some very suggestive pictures of her. Apparently, the hate between them went deeper than I thought. Finally, it was time for Toki. I was lucky to find her on Tinder. I had no idea what she looked like, and the name Toki wasn't common where I lived, so I sent her a message right away. It took 3 dates for anything to happen, but I got my pictures taken with her knowing. It took exactly 6 weeks to finish all of this, and I'm not going to lie, I seriously wondered if I was a psychopath for going through all that trouble to get back at someone, but I knew I'd feel a lot better at the end, so I pushed those thoughts aside. I texted Sandy out of the blue one day, and it took her a long time to reply. But she did. We went through some awkward small talk, and I told her I wanted to meet up, but I didn't say what. I told her we had to meet in 3 hours because I wanted to keep her guessing. No, we weren't getting back together, but I bet she thought we were. Finally, the time came, and I met her at a park. She was there before I got there, which wasn't a surprise since I had been as slow as possible getting ready. She stood to hug me, and I accepted it. It was easier to get her hopes up if I wasn't too cold. We said some dry, nice things before I took out my phone and sent her a bunch of media. I told her to look at them. The first face she saw was Sophia, and she asked, "Why are you showing me this?" Before I could answer, she scrolled to the I told her in a very casual way that she was a lot of fun to be around, but I could see tears in her eyes as she kept looking. Then she saw Melissa. First, a video of me bowling with Melissa, and then the more explicit one. She watched that video loop 3 times before I told her, none of these women were as bad as you made them seem. In fact, they were all a lot better than you, especially where it mattered most. She lost it. She got up and started yelling obscenities at me. She kept pointing her finger at me angrily, and I wondered if she was going to hit me at any moment. But she just kept screaming and pointing her finger at me. I honestly wasn't paying attention because I was enjoying the way she was shaking with anger. She said, "You made it seem like you're a saint, but you're worse than me." I stopped her there and told her, "Really? You can only be mad at yourself, Sandy. This is just what you deserve." She started to cry again, and this time she looked truly broken. That was it for me. Seeing that look was enough. I finished what I needed to do and felt complete. I haven't heard from her since, not even when she turned 30, but to be honest, I like it that way. I don't know if this is useful advice for anyone, but I don't think any woman is above cheating. That's what I thought about my ex-fiancée, and I was wrong. If you can sign a prenup, please do, because I was lucky to get out of my situation before I got married. That's all I have to say. Always be on the lookout. If you need to check their phone, do it. Especially if you have a good reason to think they're cheating on you. It's not worth living with someone who makes you question your trustworthiness. I got out of my situation, and I hope all of you younger and even older men do too. In the first place, your reaction to finding out about your fiancé's affair is both shocking and strangely funny. Most people would have been devastated, but you laugh it off like it's just another. Then your revenge plan really takes off, and boy is it something else. I mean, hitting on not 1, not 2, but 3 women your ex-girlfriend hates, that's next level payback. You know what they say, keep friends close and enemies closer. What do you think of Up's revenge plans? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to make sure you don't miss our next video. Until then.